fact is, you've seen the crimes and you've seen the corruption. You have seen the hunger and the suffering. You have heard the anguished pleas for help. You have protested and protested with respect, but loudly. And you have prayed for the day we can now see, which is just ahead, the day when all of the people of this region will at last be free. As we meet today, the people of Venezuela stand at the threshold of history, ready to reclaim their country and to reclaim their future. Not long ago, Venezuela was the wealthiest nation by far in South America. But years of socialist rule have brought this once thriving nation to the brink of ruin. That's where it is today. The tyrannical socialist government nationalized private industries and took over private businesses. They engaged in massive wealth confiscation, shut down free markets, suppressed free speech, and set up a relentless propaganda machine, rigged elections, used the government to persecute their political opponents, and destroyed the impartial rule of law. In other words, the socialists have done in Venezuela all of the same things that socialists, communists, totalitarians have done everywhere that they've had a chance to rule. The results have been catastrophic. Almost 90% of Venezuelans now live in poverty. In 2018, hyperinflation in Venezuela exceeded 1,000,000%. Crippling shortages of food and medicine plague the country. Socialism has so completely ravaged this great country that even the world's largest reserves of oil are no longer enough to keep the lights on. This will never happen to us. Thank you. Already, more than 3 million Venezuelans have fled Maduro's brutal opposition, and brutal it is. Today, we are honored to be joined by Amita Perez, the mother of Oscar Perez, a courageous Venezuelan police officer. You know the story. In June of 2017, Oscar piloted a helicopter over the city of Baruta with the banner 350 Liberty, a reference to Article 350 of the Venezuelan Constitution, which states, "The people of Venezuela shall disown any regime, legislation, or authority that violates democratic values or encroaches upon human rights." Oscar said he wanted to give the people hope. He loved the people. He fought for the people, and they loved Oscar. But Oscar was gunned down and killed by Venezuelans, so you know this very well. You all know the story. By the Venezuelan security forces, viciously. Amita, our hearts break for your loss. Oscar gave his life for the freedom of his people. We all have hope today because of great, great people and patriots like Oscar. Please. I said, how about saying something in Spanish? She likes Spanish. She's a little bit better in Spanish. Please.
Gracias, señor presidente. Me disculpan si se me salen las lágrimas. Lo que pasa es que hoy otro de mis hijos, que también fue asesinado, está de cumpleaños hoy. Y entonces, bueno, pero estoy acá más que todo estoy con el presidente solicitando ayuda humanitaria. Estoy solicitando también justicia por mi hijo y por su grupo que fueron asesinados vilmente, por los hijos. Y también para continuar con el legado de Oscar, que parte de eso somos todos nosotros. Y vamos a continuar con la lucha hasta ver nuestra Venezuela libre y poder regresar a nuestra madre patria. Gracias.
I don't know what she said, but I think I know what she said. And she is an incredible woman, and Oscar was an incredible man who will not have died in vain. A few weeks ago, on January 23rd, Venezuela's National Assembly invoked the Venezuelan Constitution to declare the President of the National Assembly, Juan Guaido, as the country's legitimate leader. In one of his first acts, President Guaido invoked the same constitutional order that Oscar carried through the skies to notify the world that Maduro was illegitimate. Within 30 minutes, the United States was proud to be the first nation in the world to recognize President Guaido. And by the way, John Bolton is here. Where is John? Working hard. Today, more than 50 countries around the world now recognize the rightful government of Venezuela. And the Venezuelan people have spoken, and the world has heard their beautiful voice. They are turning the page on socialism, turning the page on dictatorship, and there will be no going back. Peace-loving nations are ready to help Venezuela reclaim its democracy, its dignity, and its destiny. All the nations in our hemisphere have shared interest in preventing the spread of socialist tyranny. Socialism, by its very nature, does not respect borders. It does not respect boundaries or the sovereign rights of its citizens or its neighbors. It's always seeking to expand, to encroach, and to subjugate others to its will. The twilight hour of socialism has arrived in our hemisphere, and frankly, in many, many places around the world. The days of socialism and communism are numbered not only in Venezuela, but in Nicaragua and in Cuba as well. Do we love Cuba? Do we love Nicaragua? Great countries. Such great potential. Remember that word. Such unbelievable potential. In the meantime, we must all work together to end a humanitarian disaster. As we speak, there are truckloads filled with hundreds of tons of desperately needed humanitarian supplies, stopped at the borders of Venezuela and waiting to help the millions and millions in need. 2 days ago, the first U.S. Air Force C-17, that's a big, beautiful plane, landed in Colombia, loaded with crucial assistance, including thousands of nutrition kits for little Venezuelan children. Unfortunately, dictator Maduro has blocked this life-saving aid from entering the country. He would rather see his people starve than give them aid, than help them. Millions of Venezuelans are starving and suffering, while a small handful at the top of the Maduro regime plunder the nation into poverty and into death. We know who they are, and we know where they keep the billions of dollars that they have stolen. Incredibly, there are members of the Venezuelan military still barely supporting this failed dictatorship. They are risking their future. They are risking their lives and Venezuela's future for a man controlled by the Cuban military and protected by a private army of Cuban soldiers. Maduro is not a Venezuelan patriot. He is a Cuban puppet. That's what he is. And remember that hundreds of millions of dollars used to be paid to Cuba, but no longer, because they no longer have that kind of wealth to be able to do it. So things are changing, and they're changing fast. And today I have a message for every official who is helping to keep Maduro in place. The eyes of the entire world are upon you today, every day, and every day in the future. You cannot hide from the choice that now confronts you. You can choose to accept President Guaido's generous offer of amnesty to live your life in peace with your families and your countrymen. President Guaido does not seek retribution against you, and neither do we. But you must not follow Maduro's orders to block humanitarian aid, and you must not threaten any form of violence against peaceful protesters, opposition leaders, members of the National Assembly, or President Guaido and his family. We seek a peaceful transition of power, but all options are open. We want to restore Venezuelan democracy, and we believe that the Venezuelan military and its leadership have a vital role to play in this process. If you choose this path, you have the opportunity to help forge a safe and prosperous future for all of the people of Venezuela. Or you can choose the second path, continuing to support Maduro. If you choose this path, you will find no safe harbor, no easy exit, and no way out. You will lose everything. So today I ask every member of the Maduro regime, end this nightmare of poverty, hunger, and death for your people. Let your people go. Set your country free. Now is the time for all Venezuelan patriots to act together as one united people. Nothing could be better for the future of Venezuela, and nothing could be better for the future of another captive nation, Cuba, than the rebirth of freedom and democracy in Venezuela. For decades, the socialist dictatorships of Cuba and Venezuela have propped each other up in a very corrupt bargain. Venezuela gave Cuba oil. In return, Cuba gave Venezuela a police state run directly from Havana. But this is a much different day, and those days are over. The ugly alliance between the two dictatorships is coming to a rapid end. A new future is beginning. All of us in this arena, and thousands and thousands and thousands of people outside, you have to see it, are united because we know the truth about socialism. In Venezuela, in Cuba, in Nicaragua, and all around the world. Socialism promises prosperity, but it delivers poverty. Socialism promises unity, but it delivers hatred and it delivers division. Socialism promises a better future, but it always returns to the darkest chapters of the past. That never fails. It always happens. Socialism is a sad and discredited ideology rooted in the total ignorance of history and human nature, which is why socialism eventually must always give rise to tyranny, which it does. Socialists profess a love of diversity, but they always insist on absolute conformity. We know that socialism is not about justice. It's not about equality. It's not about lifting up the poor. Socialism is about one thing only: power for the ruling class. And the more power they get, the more they crave. They want to run healthcare, run transportation and finance, run energy, education, run everything. They want the power to decide who wins and who loses, who's up and who's down, what's true and what's false, and even who lives and who dies. In short, all of us here today know that there is nothing less democratic than socialism. Everywhere and anywhere it appears, socialism advances under the banner of progress, but in the end it delivers only corruption, exploitation, and decay. With us today is David Smolansky. David was one of the youngest mayors in Venezuelan history when the Maduro regime removed him from office and issued a warrant for his arrest. David fled into Venezuela's treacherous southern jungle. Eventually, David reached Brazil, where he was welcomed with open arms. Today, David lives in exile in the United States, where he continues to speak up for the Venezuelan people. Sadly, David is the third generation of his family to flee the agony of socialism and communism. David's grandparents fled the Soviet Union in 1927, and his father fled communist Cuba in 1970. As David said, the difference I want to have for my father and my grandfather is to go back to my country. My grandparents never went back to Kiev. My father has not been back to Havana. I hope I can soon return to Venezuela. I think that will happen, David. Thank you very much, David. I think it'll soon happen. Your courage, David, is an inspiration. And not only David, many of the people in this room, you've been through much. But you see it coming to the end. You see it really coming to an end for the first time. For the first time, you're seeing it. Because the United States, a true great nation, is behind you. And so as the United States stands up for democracy in Venezuela, we reaffirm the solidarity with the long-suffering people of Cuba and Nicaragua and people everywhere living under socialist and communist regimes. And to those who would try to impose socialism on the United States, we again deliver a very simple message. America will never be a socialist country. We are born free, and we will stay free now and forever. We know what freedom can do in Venezuela because we have seen that future right here in Doral. We know what freedom can do in Cuba because we have seen that future right here in Miami. We know what freedom can do in Nicaragua because we have seen that future in Sweetwater. And one day soon, with God's help, we are going to see what the people will do in Caracas and Managua and Havana. And when Venezuela is free, and Cuba is free, and Nicaragua is free, this will become the first free hemisphere in all of human history. It was my great honor to be with you today, and the First Lady's great honor to be with you today. We are winning. We are winning on every front. Thank you. God bless you. God bless the people of Venezuela. God bless the people of Cuba. God bless the people of Nicaragua. And God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dana Perino, and you're watching The Five. President Trump was speaking in Miami, where he warned against the dangers of socialism. The president saying America stands with the people of Venezuela and stressed how socialism has ruined that country. The biggest reaction coming when President Trump declared, quote, America will never be a socialist country, which, Jesse, was the great line from the State of the Union speech. Right. Saturday is a critical day. This is when the humanitarian aid that is on the border, that they're going to make a move to try to get it into the country, and the Venezuelan people, especially the army from under Maduro, has a choice to make.
Yes, and the Greg Gutfeld show will be following that closely on Saturday as that develops. I think this was a twofer. You know, this was a foreign policy and domestic policy speech. You know, you want to attack socialism abroad and at home, and I think he did that very nicely. He cast socialism as a philosophy that's dying and cast himself as the leader of a movement that's ushering in change and more futuristic and hopeful, and really slickly melded socialism in Venezuela with socialism here in America. When he was describing socialism as an ideology, he's talking about rigging elections. He's talking about a borderless nation. He's talking about seizing wealth, controlling industries, and using institutions to punish political enemies. He said those very same things about people here at home, and he's using that rhetoric to kind of mold in people's minds socialism abroad and here in America.
The president, Greg, has taken great pains to make sure that the Europeans were supporting Guaido over Maduro, but when he speaks, he has the most words and the strongest words. He's the most powerful speaker.
This is why having Trump in the White House now, whether you love him or hate him, is important, because remember, President Obama was absent during the Green Revolution. He was absent with Hugo Chavez, and he was there for Cuba, so it's nice to have this difference. No one explains. He said that socialism is dying. Except here, right? It's not dying. It's because here, our campuses do nothing to explain why socialism keeps failing. Its toxic premise is that it's centralized. Capitalism, it's very simple. Capitalism, decentralized. So if one little part goes wrong, only that part suffers, but everything else is fine because of individual rules. With socialism, it's centralized, meaning if the top rots, everything rots, which is why the Maduros and the Chavezes and every socialist Castro before them, they plunder and they don't profit because of the only... You can't create a profit. All you can do is take. So that's the key difference. And if somebody could explain that to a high school student, socialism would be dead in a second.
Katie, Maduro, the disputed president, still has support around the world. It's not a slam dunk yet.
Not yet. There's about 50 countries in the world that are supporting Maduro, 65 that are supporting Guaido. The UN is still recognizing Maduro. Those advocates for human rights and dignity are still recognizing Maduro. But I thought it was interesting to see the president talk about socialism never happening here. And the reason why is because, as Reagan said, socialism is never, or freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction, and you have to fight for it. So the people in Venezuela are fighting against socialism there for freedom, and people in America are going to have to fight to keep socialism out of America.
Democrats today called on President Trump to offer temporary protected status for Venezuelan refugees. Juan, what do you think of that?
I think it's a good idea. I mean, there's no defending Hugo Chavez or Nicolas Maduro. I think these guys are essentially tyrants. And I think that you can see the consequences and the quality of life in the country. It's interesting that Mr. Trump, who is, you know, always antagonistic to the idea of America playing a role on the world stage, is willing to get involved here, which invites some questions and doubts, because as Katie was picking up on about the UN, the reason that I think people are slow to do this is you don't want other countries determining the leaders of another country. That's seen as sort of intervention that's not acceptable. And President Trump has had that idea when it comes to places like, incredibly, Syria. But here, I think, to Jesse's point, he sees some political advantage at home. I will get into it later, but I mean, I think on that point, that's ridiculous.
You can be convinced of both things. And we're gonna.
But you know who hates this? Russia.
And China.
There goes the collusion.
Russia and China, who are holding up the UN support, of course.
Yes.
All right, another twist in the Jussie Smollett case. We have the breaking details with Greg.
Together with Susan G. Komen, we're committed to reducing U.S. breast cancer deaths by half.
We're going to do it by 2026. Join our fight. Save lives.
Failure is unacceptable.
Nearly 250,000 men and women in the U.S.
will be diagnosed with breast cancer this year.
That's unacceptable.
Breast cancer is unacceptable. Join our fight. Save lives.
Us lives here, where we can be surprised by others and ourselves. For a better us, support your local Y today.
Put the keys down, Kevin.
But I'm gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
I've taken 25 selfies in the last 10 minutes.
26.
Yep, I'm definitely gonna call a ride home.
Every family dreams to have their own house. This house changed our lives.
Habitat for Humanity is at work in your community and around the world. Through shelter, we empower.
Put the keys down, Kevin.
But I'm gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
My text to emoji ratio has gotten a little out of hand.
A little?
Yep, I'm definitely gonna call a ride home.
I already knew that I was gonna go to college, from a young age. I definitely want to major in political science, become the mayor or something, make the situation better for other people. My name is Justin, and I am your dividend.
Breast cancer is the leading cause of all cancer deaths for Hispanic women.
That's unacceptable.
Breast cancer is unacceptable.
Join our fight. Save lives.
Failure is unacceptable.
Every child deserves a future. Every last child. That's why we do whatever it takes to ensure children grow up healthy, learning, and safe. Right here in the U.S. and around the world, just as we have for nearly 100 years. When it comes to children, we know that even the smallest act can make a big difference. By changing children's lives now, we're changing the course of their futures and ours. Join us.
All right. Shall we call it on Smollett? The police no longer consider Jussie Smollett a victim. Q faces covered in egg.
Two suspects who were apparently wearing Make America Great Again hats, though that has not yet been officially confirmed.
I'm disgusted by people who wear hats that say MAGA, make America great again. I don't like that it's being put out there in the media that this is a possible hate crime.
Right. And the media has really cast so much doubt on his story, which I find so personally offensive.
And Senator Cory Booker said the vicious attack on actor Jussie was an attempted modern-day lynching.
It's coming from the President of the United States. He's dog whistling every day.
Danny, this is a horrible story. This is a horrible story.
The circumstances are just horrific.
This is America in 2019.
This is America in 2019, right? And here I thought it was Pence's fault.
It feels impossible to not feel this way right now with the president and the vice president, Mike Pence, who wishes I couldn't be married. Let's just be clear. Connect the dots. This is what happens. If you are in a position of power and you hate people and you want to cause suffering to them, you go through the trouble. You spend your career trying to cause suffering. What do you think is going to happen?
Loved her in Juneau. Meanwhile, we kept quiet. Sure, the idea of Trumpers wandering in sub-zero Chicago at 2 a.m. carrying bleach and a noose, attacking some actor from a show they don't even watch without taking his phone, wallet, or sandwich seemed about as real as me joining The View. But Smollett was the perfect victim for a media that deems any skepticism heresy. That's why these hoaxes are not rare. It's the press orgy that attracts them. Now, looking dumb, the media circles its wagons. At CNN, they claim that only the celebrity press fell for this. Oh, yeah? Try CNN, the Washington Post, the LA Times, BuzzFeed, the Huffington Post, the Daily Beast. They're terrible. Rolling Stone, Slate, ABC, poor Newsweek. They ate it all up. CNN says Smollett's actions set back the movement. No, it didn't. Maybe it set back the hoax crime movement, and that's good. Perhaps the media might think first, so we'll have fewer hoaxes, but don't count on it. The media says no one should be pleased by the events, that fake hoaxes hurt real victims, but they never mention the groups who are falsely accused. Seriously, this could have led to real violence against them. Instead, the press, they parrot two lines. Even if this crime isn't true here, it's got to be true somewhere else. And how awful are the conservatives for pouncing on this now? Sorry, if you're sad that this turned out to be a hoax, it's only because your network, your paper, and your assumptions were wrong. Me, I'm pleased. A hate crime fell apart, which once again proves we are less racist than the media wants us to be. I say once again, because so many hate crimes are reported, then they go unreported once they're exposed as hoaxes. And those hoaxes, they are easy to find, though the media wishes you wouldn't look. They want you to forget them like they do every day, so they can commit the same damn mistake tomorrow. I'd urge everybody to go check out Andrew Ngo, his tweet. He's got his Twitter has just a phenomenal number of these hate crime hoaxes they will blow your mind. And of course, we've listed many of them. Dana, so far only one person has offered an apology for believing this. Michael Avenatti.
Yes. 2020.
2020.
And it was a sincere apology. It seemed like it, for as much as you can do that on Twitter, for as sincere as that was. What I thought was interesting in the montage is that you saw that some in the media were actually attacking reporting.
Yes.
Because they were using the word allegedly.
Yes.
And how dare they use the word allegedly, because obviously this was a hate crime.
Yeah. How dare you? But the thing is, if you question it, if that's sacrilegious. You're probably a bigot, a homophobe, a racist. Jesse, people ask, why would Smollett do such a thing? And I've said this, we fetishized victimhood. It makes you a hero. And if you are a sucker for attention, that's the best way to get, the easiest way to get it.
Smollett's got an album coming out,
yeah,
March 2nd, so he might have been promoting that as, the show. He's thinking about maybe raising his profile in that way, too. How stupid did he think the police were?
Yeah, they did.
That they weren't going to be able to figure this out? I mean, what a low opinion of police do you have to have? to be able to try to pull this off. And how cozy do you have to think you are with the media? They're going to run interference for you. And at this point, the media is not even looking for the truth anymore. They're just looking for a story. What's the classic line? Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. So they get the good story, and then they weaponize it against the Republicans. It's now a political hate crime.
Right.
And that's when you are motivated by hatred for Republicans to frame them. And we've seen it with Covington, with Kavanaugh, with Smollett. You went way back in the monologue. Duke, UVA, or some other ones. Hands up, don't shoot. Benghazi, they blamed on a conservative filmmaker.
Yeah.
So everybody has to take a step back and say, listen, the media in Chicago, they were the ones that got the story right.
That's true, and they were hounded.
Yeah, and they were called bigots and in the tank for the cops.
Katie, 12 detectives, at least 12 worked on this. Can you imagine?
Resources.
All the
Chicago,
resources.
with all the murders going on in Chicago and the crime going on, and real people who needed help that night in a polar vortex, right? He played the race card twice. I'm waiting for him to play it 3 times. He did it the first time by saying this was a hate crime. The second time he said, if you don't believe him, you're a racist. And I'm just waiting on them now to say that the Chicago Police Department is racist, and therefore you can't listen to what they have to say. But for the record, the superintendent there is Eddie Johnson. He's black, so they maybe can't play that card. This is why saying my truth is absolutely ridiculous, because Jussie Smollett's truth was this, the fake letter that was sent, all the things that were said, and yet here we are now after this entire thing of smearing again of regular Trump-supporting Americans, and everyone jumped on it, and now we're not seeing apologies, as Greg said.
To our credit, 3 weeks ago, we were talking about it in the green room, and we said we aren't touching this because we knew something was going on. Remember?
Well, I think we said pretty clearly we don't know all the facts.
Yeah.
And so we held back, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But what I see here today is you guys are spiking the ball like this is proof that, you know, Trumpsters and MAGA hat wearers and everybody else
didn't commit this crime.
You know what? The fact is,
I'm spiking the football
and you're
because
wrong.
it was I am right because it didn't happen.
Because we don't know all the facts yet.
Okay.
He hasn't spoken to the police. Right, that's what you should.
I will reserve judgment. Maybe it will be MAGA hats then, Juan, and you can spike the ball.
He should talk to the police. He should give them access.
Which he won't.
If he wants to redeem what looks to be a farce at this point.
Yeah.
But the fact is, Greg, hate crimes in this country have spiked.
No,
in the
they
last
haven't.
3
Not
years.
true.
No,
they
absolutely
haven't. Show me what's your
stat.
stat.
Argue with the FBI.
No, show me your stat.
So here they are.
Show me your stat.
Here they are. The last 3 years
I will
gone
rip
up,
it to shreds.
and not only gone up against blacks, but Jews in specific.
All right.
But here's what I want to say.
No, I want to hear the stats.
I want to say this, that what you have here is a function of confirmation bias. And my quote here comes from George W. Bush after some policemen were shot in Dallas. He said, too often we judge other groups by their worst examples while judging ourselves by our best intentions.
That's what Jussie was doing.
So when you have a false flag, like you have that guy, Caesar Sayoc down in Florida driving around, all the conservatives said, don't judge that, just wait. So I'm telling you, you should wait.
Yeah, all right. They say hate crimes are up 17% because of 1,000 additional agencies reporting them. No. If they report 1, that's a 17% increase.
Oh,
it's not about an increase in hate crimes. It's an increase in report.
If you're a victim,
right. I know it's hard. It's hard to handle.
Let me tell you, you don't want to be stigmatized by it, but you laugh, and that's wrong.
I'm not laughing. I'm just happy that we're less racist than you want us to be.
No, I would be
President Trump
happy
accusing Andrew McCabe of
Put the keys down, Kevin.
But I'm going to drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
My text-to-emoji ratio has gotten a little out of hand.
A little?
Yep, I'm definitely going to call a ride home.
Put the keys down, Kevin.
But I'm going to drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
I've taken 25 selfies in the last 10 minutes.
26.
Yep, I'm definitely going to call a ride home.
Nearly 250,000 men and women in the U.S.
will be diagnosed with breast cancer this year.
That's unacceptable.
Breast cancer is unacceptable. Join our fight, save lives.
Every family dreams to have their own house. This house changed our lives.
Habitat for Humanity is at work in your community and around the world. Through shelter, we empower.
Together with Susan G. Komen, we're committed to reducing U.S. breast cancer deaths by half.
And we're going to do it by 2026. Join our fight. Save lives.
Failure is unacceptable.
Us lives here, where we can be surprised by others and ourselves. For a better us, support your local Y today.
Breast cancer is the leading cause of all cancer deaths for Hispanic women.
That's unacceptable.
Breast cancer is unacceptable.
Join our fight. Save lives.
Failure is unacceptable.
I already knew that I was going to go to college, from a young age. I definitely want to major in political science, become the mayor or something, make the situation better for other people. My name is Justin, and I am your dividend.
Me and my boy Matt had it good. He had catnip that was off the hook. But one day, he brings a girl home, and she's allergic to cats. Every sneeze was a nail in my coffin. Now I'm in a shelter. It's decent, but they don't even have Wi-Fi.
(1945 to 1965). People born during these years are 5 times more likely to have hepatitis C, a leading cause of liver cancer, and people can live with hepatitis C for decades without any symptoms. The good news? Now, treatments are available that can cure hepatitis C. So if you were born from 1945 to 1965, talk to your doctor about getting a blood test for hepatitis C. It's the only way to know.
Deputy Director Andrew McCabe after making these claims on 60 Minutes.
A discussion of the 25th Amendment was simply Rod raised the issue and discussed it with me in the context of thinking about how many other cabinet officials might support such an effort. The Deputy Attorney General offered to wear a wire into the White House. He said, I never get searched when I go into the White House. I could easily wear a recording device. They wouldn't know it was there. Now, he was not joking.
The DOJ is calling McCabe's claims false. And President Trump's firing back by saying McCabe and Rosenstein pursed a, quote, illegal and treasonous plot against his presidency. All right, Greg, so McCabe says he opened up these investigations against the president and tried to invoke the 25th Amendment because Trump was really rough on the FBI when he was criticizing the Hillary Clinton investigation, and he said some nice things about Russia.
I have to say that this is similar to the Smollett case in that certain people, I think he legitimately bought into this conspiracy because it was ginned up by the media. It primed the population to believe in these things. So he bought the movie in his head that Russia was involved and the media was the cheering section when the most obvious solution was that Trump ran a better game than Hillary, and the media fed the spectacle with free airtime, and Trump wasn't a politician, and people were ready for that. That's the obvious answer, but McCabe chooses the absurd answer, which is the Manchurian Candidate, because of confirmation bias imploding into cognitive dissonance. We'll be right back.
And McCabe, well, one thing I think when he says that Rosenstein wasn't joking, Rosenstein said that he was joking, and I can imagine it too, because apparently they were in a heated conversation, and McCabe's pushing him. He's like, "What do you want me to do? Wear a wire in the White House? Like, I don't get I could see how that might happen. The other thing is with McCabe, I was watching with some folks last night, and they're like, "Seems very credible." I'm like, he does. He was also fired for lying. So it's like it's a little bit difficult.
He could be a very good liar.
He's also been referred for criminal prosecution for
That's
lying
true.
under oath to both the FBI and DOJ Inspector General investigators. So that's a problem for him. But you know how you know McCabe is a hack? Because Elizabeth Warren agrees with this notion that the 25th Amendment should be used against President Trump, who was elected in a democracy by people who voted for him.
Isn't it scary when you have Republicans and Democrats kind of conspiring to rein in the duly elected president of the United States?
Let me correct you.
Elected.
I think that's the next segment.
Anthony Weiner's coming up next.
And he is duly erected.
Let me correct you, because I think that if you look at it, Andrew McCabe, Rod Rosenstein, Jeff Sessions are all Republicans. So according to him, Republicans. And you know what I can't get over is the idea that this is a coup. The 25th Amendment, this is to your point, the 25th Amendment is part of the Constitution. So they were actually following a constitutional mechanism intended to remove somebody who's...
What was the reason why?
You know what he said? Hang on, you know what he said? He said this guy said, I believe Putin with regard to North Korea's powers.
Okay.
I don't believe
that sounds like fake news to me.
Real quickly, the 25th Amendment is not used to take out a president you don't like. It's used for an incapacitated president who has been in the hospital or can no longer carry out his
it's part
duties.
of the Constitution.
I want to talk about Weiner.
Anthony Weiner, out of prison, what he's up to now and next on The Five.
Cancer deaths by half.
We're going to do it by 2026. Join our fight. Save lives.
Failure is unacceptable.
I already knew